Hey, I'm Marcus Junius Brutus. The room smells of lamp oil and old marble. I have one truth I never said aloud. I will, but not yet. If you think you know my reason, stay with me. A chair scrapes. The Curia of Pompey hums with low voices. Robes brush stone. Dust hangs under the skylight. My palms are dry. My mouth is not. We chose this place because it felt safe for him and useful for us. I stand near the aisle, not far from the curule chair. I tell my face to learn calm. This next part happens fast. Watch the door before anyone else does. Gaius Cassius Longinus moves to me. He is my brother-in-law and the fire in this plot. He matters now because he keeps me from freezing. His hand touches his sleeve once. No tremor. He looks at me, not at the door. Hold the line, he breathes. I nod. My toga edge rubs the skin at my elbow raw. Decimus Junius Brutus Albinus steps in from the entrance. Decimus is a general and once Caesar's close friend. He matters now because he brought Caesar here despite the omens. He lifts his chin once. Caesar is on his way. I feel the room narrow. The signal is not what you think. Near the statue of Pompey, Servilius Casca clears his throat. Casca is a tribune and our chosen first striker. He matters now because he must begin what the rest cannot stop. He stares at the floor. His jaw works. I do not check my knife. That promise to myself is small and hard. I do not check my knife. Tilius Cimber paces with a scroll in his hand. He is a praetor and our excuse. He matters now because the scroll asks for his brother's recall from exile. That request will let us crowd close. He meets my eye, then looks away. He has practiced the reach of his fingers. A scroll sets the clock running. The door opens. Caesar enters with a nod of attendance. I hear the tap of his staff. The white of his toga pulls light. There is sweat at his hairline. He does not look weak. He looks certain. Behind him, Mark Antony peels off. He is consul and Caesar's shield. He matters always. He will not matter for 1 minute if we keep him talking. Trebonius takes his arm and steers him to the portico. Trebonius smiles like a host. Antony goes. Caesar sees me. He lifts 2 fingers. I bow my head. My chest tightens, then releases. I wish it did not. 1 letter sits against my ribs. There is a fold in my tunic that hides a sealed note. Caesar wrote it months ago. I have not opened it. I will tell you why, but not now. The seal scratches my skin. I push it flat. A whisper moves behind me. Artemidorus is near the door. Artemidorus of Cnidus is a teacher. He matters now because he holds a list of names. Our names. He tries to hand Caesar the warning. Caesar waves him off. He says business first. The teacher tries again. He fails. The note stays unread. That problem, at least, closes. He steps past his own rescue. Exactly a month earlier, at the Lupercalia, I stood in the crowd. The air felt warm and sour with bodies. Antony raised a diadem. He pressed it to Caesar 3 times. 3 times Caesar refused, slow. The people cheered. They also watched him. I watched too. That moment did not make the stay. It made the pass shorter. Back to the Curia. The benches fill. Senators rise and sit. One jokes about the late hour. Another coughs. Cicero is not here. He was not told. That absence is no accident. We wanted hands, not voices. Count the men who avoid my eyes. Cassius leans near. If he cries out, we all move, he says. He shields his mouth with his hand. Do not hesitate. I fix on one detail, the edge of Caesar's chair. It has a nick in the wood. I hold that detail the way sailors hold a rope. I do not move. Caesar settles on the chair. He gestures to Cimber. Your request, he says. His voice fills the room without a shout. Cimber kneels. He reaches out. He asks for his brother's return from exile. He pulls at Caesar's toga as if to plead. His fingers grip cloth. Cloth is the only permission we need. Why this restraint, Tilius? Caesar says. He sounds almost amused. He tries to push Cimber's hand away. Cimber holds firm. This is violence, Caesar says. He frowns. That single word carries weight. It also gives us cover. We close in. Casca moves to Caesar's left. Cassius shifts behind the chair. I step to the front, half a step off the line. Cinna and Ligarius turn their bodies. All at once, the air changes. I hear the scrape of a sandal. I feel sweat under my collar. I smell the sharp bite of metal from someone's blade. The first strike almost fails. For years earlier, after Pharsalus, I stood on the wrong side. I had fought under Pompey. Caesar spared me. He welcomed me back and called it mercy. He gave me office. He let me walk beside him as if nothing had happened. I told him I would serve the Republic. He smiled and said we served the same thing. I believed that for a time. Back to the Curia. Casca raises his arm. The blade catches under the edge of the toga. He misses the throat. He catches flesh at the shoulder. Caesar turns. He says something I do not catch. The room erupts. The plan bends in that instant. You might expect I felt joy. I did not. I felt the weight of a wheel touching the ground. My hand found my knife because there was no time left for vows. Caesar grabs Casca's arm. Casca cries out to his brother. That is the sound that pulls every other blade free. Decimus's face is pale. Cassius breathes hard and steady. Trebonius is not with us inside. He keeps Antony away. This is the one gift that matters for more than a heartbeat. We needed space. We have it. I still have not moved. My legs want to lock. My chest wants to split. I think of my wife, Portia. She is Cato's daughter and my anchor. She matters now only in my head. She said, if you fear, say so. I said nothing. She cut her thigh to prove her constancy. I promised to deserve her. That promise stands near me now, quiet and solid. Casca's blow starts a storm. Blades flash. Voices rise. Caesar staggers to his feet. He pushes Cimber back. Blood spreads across the white. My hand lifts. The secret still sits unopened. I am not the first to strike. That choice will haunt me in some ways and free me in others. I aim for the chest. I aim to make it clean. I do not aim for the face. Caesar's eyes meet mine for a breath. There is a question there. I cannot answer it yet. 3 months later, the city will burn with slogans and grief. Tonight is only the beginning. You will want the end, I know. You will have it. Not yet. Back to the Curia. Cimber's hands still clutch cloth. That is the signal you asked about. Not a word. Not a nod. Fingers in the folds of a toga. We planned it that way so no one outside the circle would hear. It works. I step forward. My blade rises. My breath settles. I remember a winter night when Caesar and I spoke alone. He told me something that moved the ground under my feet. That is the truth I have not said. It sits behind every line I utter here. You will hear it when you need it. For now, I move. For now, the Republic demands my hand. My knife goes in under the ribs. The handle turns slick. My arm stays steady. Caesar exhales hard, like a man who has climbed too fast. His hand reaches for me, then drops. The room shakes with voices and with scraping stone. He says my name once. Casca strikes again from the left. Publius Servilius Casca, his brother, crashes forward. Publius is a tribune and part of our circle. He matters now because he keeps the blows coming when others stall. Cinna grabs Caesar's shoulder. Ligarius stumbles, then finds aim. Cassius works like a soldier. Clean, fast, silent. Decimus misses a beat, then follows through. I keep my target small. Chest. Side. No face. Antony is still outside. Caesar tries to stand. Blood runs over his forearm. He looks at me, not at the blades. His eyes narrow. He says, "You too," in a voice that is more breath than sound. I hear my name. Not a curse. Not a plea. Just my name. The line rises in me and sinks again. He moves toward the statue of Pompey. He slips on the wet floor. He sits, then sags. Did he beg? He did not. The noise ends faster than you think. For a heartbeat, everything holds. Then Tilius Cimber drops the torn toga. The cloth lands heavy. The senators who are not with us have fled to the walls. Some hide behind benches. Some run for the door. A few freeze. Their eyes travel from Caesar to me and back. I raise my hands with the knife still red. No one else is harmed, I call. Not a citizen. Not a senator. Only the tyrant. My throat tastes like iron. Trebonius appears in the doorway. He is the one who drew Antony away. He matters now because he bought us the minute we needed. Antony is gone, he says. To his house. He looks at Caesar's body once and looks away. We must leave before the city gathers. Capital, Cassius says. He does not raise his voice. We all understand. The hill is our shield and our stage. We move together through the portico. Our sandals track red lines across the stone. People in the courtyard stare. Some cheer. Some spit. One woman covers her face with her scarf and backs away. Exactly a year earlier, I watched my father-in-law die by his own hand after Utica. Marcus Porcius Cato was a senator and the hardest man I knew. He matters now because he taught me that law without courage is nothing. He opened his wound again when it closed. He would not live under a master. I buried part of myself with him and kept the rest for this day. Back to the courtyard. Servants press against the wall. A clerk steps into our path and then thinks better of it. We pass under the open sky. Rome sounds the same as every morning. Carts, dogs, sellers. That sameness feels strange against what we carry. The forum will decide in hours. At the foot of the Capitol, I turn to the men. No looting, I say. No settling scores. We speak first. Cassius nods. Decimus rubs his wrist. He says he will send word to the city guards to hold fast and not stir the crowd against us. He leaves 2 men to watch the Curia door. We climb the steps. The bronze of the doors reflects our stained tunics. On the platform, I wipe my knife on the hem of my toga and sheath it. I feel the sealed note against my ribs. The wax edge scratches skin. The seal bears his name. I still have not opened it. The letter will not wait forever. Artemidorus finds me near the gatehouse. He is the teacher who tried to warn Caesar. He matters now because he proves the plot held even with danger close. I tried, he says. He would not read. I nod. We all chose this morning, I say. He looks at my hands and steps back. That same evening, we plan the speech. I will speak first, then Cassius, then the rest as needed. We agree on the points. No talk of revenge. No joy. We name laws and offices. We say that elections will be free. We say that the republic stands on consent, not on one man's will. We send messengers to calm the neighborhoods. Words must hold when swords are sheathed. Exactly 3 months earlier, Caesar took the office of dictator for life. The decree said it plainly. He wore purple at public games. He sat on a golden chair. He placed his image among the kings. He said it was theater. He said the state needed speed. He said forms could flex while principles held. I argued softly. I told myself I could guide him. I told myself I could slow him. That was the last month I slept well. Back to the Capitol. Night falls. Torches burn. The smell of pitch hangs in the air. A group of young men gather below the steps. They ask if we have killed more. No, I say. Only him. They shout liberty and wave their caps. Others stay back and whisper. A man curses us for killing a benefactor. He says his debts were forgiven under Caesar's acts. I say those acts stand. He stares, unsure. Antony sends a message in the dark. A slave arrives at the gate with a folded tablet. It bears Antony's seal. He is consul and the strongest voice left in Caesar's party. He matters now because he can call the army and the crowd. The note says he wishes to live and to talk. He says he wants order. He asks for safe passage. I send word. He may pass. He will not be harmed. Will Antony keep faith? For 1 day. At dawn the next day, the Senate meets in the Temple of Tellus. We move under guard, but not in secret. Cicero comes this time. He is an orator and a former consul. He matters now because he can give shape to our act. He greets me with a tight hand. His eyes search my face. He says, "Speak first." I nod. One speech can turn a city. I say we struck for law. I say the office of dictator was not a king's crown, but had become one. I say no gold chair stands above the Senate. I say we return everything to the people. I keep my words short. I name no enemies by name. I offer amnesty for all who fled from the Curia. I ask for peace of the gods for Caesar. I do not spit on his memory. I do not praise it either. Antony enters with a small guard. He raises his hands to show they are empty. He asks for order. He says the people fear fire and riots. He says he will not hunt us if we do not hunt him. We agree on an amnesty. We agree to keep Caesar's axe. We agree to hold a public funeral. The funeral is the hinge. Exactly a day earlier, Calpurnia begged Caesar to stay home. Calpurnia is his wife. She matters now because she reads danger with a partner's eyes. She dreamed the house was falling. She said the omens were bad. He almost yielded. Decimus talked him out of it. Decimus told him the Senate would mock him for fear. Caesar went. I watched him go and did not speak. Back to the Senate. The deal stands. Men leave with lighter steps. Cicero says the city might hold. Cassius says to keep men near the capital in case of trouble. I agree. Trebonius rubs his brow and laughs once, short and hard. He says, we did not die. That is something. I do not laugh. The will waits in the house. I return to my home for an hour. Portia meets me at the door. She is my wife and the steel in my spine. She matters now because she will call me a coward if I fail. She looks at my tunic. Is it done? She asks. It is done, I say. She takes my hands. She sees the smear on my ring and does not flinch. Eat, she says. I do, though my mouth is dry. That same evening, I go to Caesar's house with Antony and a few others to discuss the will. The air inside is warm and smells of smoke and perfume. A chest sits on a table. The executor unlocks it. He draws out the document with the seals of witnesses. Antony glances at me, then looks away. The will holds a surprise for us all. I feel the sealed note under my tunic again. I tell myself I will read it after the funeral. I tell myself it changes nothing. I am not sure. I keep it closed. The secret from that winter night, the letter at my ribs. Both stay open. One will break sooner than you expect. The chest opens with a dull scrape. The room smells of lamp smoke and cinnamon oil. Antony stands to my right. Lucius Calpurnius Piso, Caesar's father-in-law and the executor, breaks the seals. He matters now because the paper in his hands will move the city more than our knives. A name on parchment shifts the ground. Piso reads. His voice is steady. 300 sesterces to every citizen. The people receive gardens along the Tiber for public walks. The room murmurs. I hold still. Antony does not look at me. He looks at the floor. The air is not who you expect. Piso reads the adoption clause. Gaius Octavius, the young grandnephew in Illyricum, becomes Gaius Julius Caesar. He inherits the name and the house. He is not here. He matters now because every veteran and every traitor will ask where to put their loyalty. Antony breathes out once through his nose. I say nothing. Did Caesar ever promise me the place? Not in public. Back to the table. Piso closes the will. The seals of witnesses hang from the cord. Antony asks to keep a copy for the funeral. Piso agrees. We step into the courtyard. The air outside is cool and smells of damp stone. Men wait under the portico with tablets and lists. The city is counting itself already. The funeral will speak louder than we can. That same evening, the planners meet. Lepidus offers troops to keep order. Lepidus is a master of ceremonies and a general. He matters now because soldiers at a funeral can look like peace or war. We set the procession for the forum, not the field of Mars. Antony asks to speak over the body. I agree. Cassius watches me and says nothing. Exactly 2 days earlier, Decimus led Caesar into the Curia with easy talk. Decimus knew his moods and the streets. He matters now because the crowd will turn on him first if they need a face. I think of him as the route to safety closes. I do not envy him. I still carry the sealed note. At dawn the next day, the bier stands ready. The smell of resin and fresh cedar rises from the frame. Fasces wrapped in black cloth rest at the corners. Lictors clear a path. A crowd fills the forum steps and the stones below the rostra. I stand near the front with Cassius, Decimus, and the rest. We keep our hands visible. We keep our guards few. Artemidorus appears near the edge of the crowd. He does not come close. He watches me. His look says he doubts the city will forgive me. He is right to doubt. Antony's voice carries without a shout. Antony climbs the rostra. He lifts his hand. The noise falls. He calls Caesar father of the country. He lists the wars and the laws. He does not accuse us by name. He holds the will and reads the gifts to the people. The crowd roars at the money. The poor wave their caps. Some laugh and cry at once. Then he brings out the wax figure. It shows the wounds. He turns it slowly. He names where each cut fell. Left shoulder, ribs, thigh, side. He points where my knife went in. He does not say my name. He does not need to. The air changes with the tilt of a hand. Men in the front press forward. Women shout. Someone throws a torch toward the bier. Guards stamp it out. Antony lowers his hands and steps back. He lets the noise build. He does not raise it more. He lets it work. Exactly a year earlier, I stood with Caesar at dawn outside his house after the Lupercalia. The street smelled of ashes from night braziers. He asked if I believed the Republic could stand as it was. I said yes, with restraint. He said restraint had failed. He said speed was life. We did not agree. We parted with care. Back to the forum. A man near the front weeps and beats his chest. Another shouts that we sold Rome. A third tells the first to be quiet. The quarrel grows. The beer tips as hands reach for it. Flames catch on cloth. Smoke stings my eyes. The crowd surges toward the Senate House. They want a place to burn. We lose the square in a breath. Cassius grabs my arm. Up the hill, he says. We pull our men toward the Capitol. Stones strike the paving near our feet. A vendor's stall topples. A boy climbs a statue base and screams for vengeance. Soldiers at the arch hold their line with spear shafts crossed. Did Antony break the truce? He never named us. He did not need to. On the steps, I make a choice. I will close a debt to you, the listener. You have waited long enough. You have heard hints. You have seen me look away. Here is the thing I did not say. Exactly a winter night earlier, after a small dinner, Caesar asked me to stay. The coals in the brazier hissed. The room smelled of wine and wet wool. He dismissed the others. He poured 2 cups and sat. He did not smile. He said my mother had spoken to him years ago. He said he believed I was his son. He said he would not claim it in daylight. He said it would pull Rome apart. He said he had a plan to make the state safe and fast without the old words. He said he needed me next to him to keep it decent. He asked me to accept that the Republic was a husk and that we would fill it with order. He said I would be the bridge between his will and the Senate. I drank and listened. I kept my face still. I asked if the city would vote for this. He said votes were tools. He said the people wanted bread and quiet. He said history would forgive the forum if the peace held. He asked me to give him my hand. I gave him an answer that night. I said no. I said I would serve law, not a man. He looked at me for a long time. He said I would come around. He said I loved Rome too much to leave her slow and weak. He stood and put his hand on my shoulder. His grip was firm. He walked me to the door. He did not send for me again for many weeks. Back to the Capitol steps. That is the secret. Not a rumor shouted in the forum. Not a line for a play. A private claim. A proposal. A boundary I would not cross. If I believed him, then I struck my own blood. If I doubted him, then I struck a man who tried to make me family. Either way, the choice had weight. That is why the answer felt inevitable when the day came. The office had become the man. The man wanted me inside it. I refused. The rest followed. The sealed letter at my ribs presses against bone when I climb. The wax scratches skin. You know what the winter night held. You do not know what the letter says. I still have not opened it. That same evening, a crowd drags benches into the forum and builds a pyre where no pyre should stand. The smoke stains the columns. Men smash the doors of senators who were nowhere near the Curia. They find a poet named Cinna in the street and kill him because his name matches a conspirator's. His blood darkens the dust. The city's mood swings like a gate in wind. We hold the hill with words and luck. We keep our men tight. We send messages to the tribunes. We ask the guards to stay at their posts and protect the markets. We do not descend. We do not run. Antony moves troops to key corners without calling it martial law. He plays host to fear. He plays it well. 3 days later, Octavian arrives quietly at Brundisium. He is 19. He matters now because the will gave him a name and a cause. He moves with purpose. He visits friends of Caesar. He speaks little in public at first. He watches Antony. Antony watches him. Back to the capital. Portia sends word to eat and to sleep in turns. I try. I hear the city even when it is quiet. A man below the walls sings a rough song about liberty and falls silent when soldiers pass. A dog barks at nothing. The moon is thin. The letter will open or break me. Only the sealed letter remains. I will not carry it much longer. The next choice will open it or burn it. You will see which. I open it at my table before dawn. The house is quiet. The air smells of cold ash and wet clay. Portia sleeps in the next room. I warm the wax with a lamp and lift the seal with a knife tip. The parchment crackles. The first line is not my name. To the man I trust when I cannot trust the crowd, it begins. His hand is firm, clipped. He writes that the Senate will not yield without a show of strength. He writes that Antony presses him to move faster than law allows. He writes that Octavius is young and can be guided. He asks me to keep the state steady if he dies in war. He does not ask me to avenge him. He asks me to keep his axe so Rome does not split. He adds one plain line at the end. If I fall, protect the city, not my glory. The letter does not accuse me. I read it twice. My stomach tightens and eases. I fold the parchment. I hold it to the lamp until the edge is brown. I watch the words curl. I do not keep it. I carry the ash to the courtyard and crush it with my heel. Does the letter free me or bind me? Both. Back to the capital later that morning. News runs up the steps. Antony and Lepidus meet in the night. Octavian meets them 2 days later on an island in the river. They agree to rule as three. They agree on lists. Names for death. Names for confiscation. The word is proscription. One name on the list breaks me more than the rest. Exactly a week later, a rider reaches us outside Tiber with dust on his beard and fear in his eyes. He carries a small tablet sealed with cheap wax. It bears the mark of a clerk who owes Cicero a favor. Cicero is an orator and once the voice of the Republic. He matters now because his throat will soon be quiet. The tablet says the lists have gone up. It says Cicero's name leads them. It says soldiers took him at his villa as he tried to sail. It says his head stands on the rostra. I sit on a stone and breathe. I picture his right hand, the one that wrote letters faster than most men speak. I picture him raising 2 fingers to show me a point I had missed. Cassius sits beside me. He does not speak for a long time. We cannot hold Italy. That same evening, we choose flight. Not the kind that runs in panic. The kind that makes room for return. We split our tasks. Cassius moves east first to Syria to take legions from Dolabella's men. He is ruthless with governors who drag their feet. He matters now because speed will buy us soldiers. I go to the ports near Brundisium to gather ships and money. I sell silver bowls my father kept. I send Portia to my sister with guards. She argues. I insist. At dawn the next day, I board a broad-bellied merchant vessel. The deck smells of tar and old fish. The wind pushes from the west. The coastline slides by in short cliffs and low farms. I stand with Messala Corvinus, a young commander who came over after the funeral. He matters now because his head is clear and his loyalty is recent. He says, we will need discipline. We will also need pay. I nod. We will have both. Asia will fund our war or drown us. Exactly 3 months later, we meet at Smyrna. The harbor is crowded. Masts creak. The streets smell of figs and sweat. Cassius has 2 legions and the promise of more. I have money and recruits from the cities that fear the triumvirs more than us. We clasp hands in a rented hall with painted walls. We argue and then agree. I take Macedonia and the passes. He takes Syria and the fleet. We write to governors by name. We write to tax farmers. We write to city councils. We stamp orders with seals that still carry weight. We mint coins with daggers and a cap. The die leaves a hard image in soft metal. Soldiers like clear signs. Our camp at Sardis shows a crack. That same evening at Sardis, Cassius and I quarrel. We are alone with 2 aides by the door. He accuses my officer of taking a bribe for a post. I deny it. I say his men have stripped a city beyond what we agreed. Our voices rise. He says he has carried me since Rome. I say I have kept the cause clean when he would stain it for speed. We stop. We breathe. I send the aides out. We sit on low stools by a cold brazier. I take his hand. We cannot split, I say. We will not live to mend it. He coughs a laugh. He squeezes my fingers once. I know, he says. Forgive me. I nod. The quarrel ends. The crack remains. The enemy moves toward Philippi. News arrives. Antony and Octavian have crossed to Greece. They march fast. They join at Amphipolis. They aim for the plain near Philippi. The ground there is open and flat with marsh to the south and hills to the north. It will not hide us. It will not save them. It will decide. Exactly a week earlier, scouts counted their eagles. They bring 20 legions. We can match most of it if our eastern levies arrive in time. We fortify a ridge. We cut a causeway through the marsh. We build a double line of trenches. We stretch our supply line to the sea and guard it with light craft. Back to camp. The air smells of damp earth and boiled grain. The men clean armor. The smith hammers a rivet flat. I walk the line with Miss Alla. He points out a weak gate. I nod and order more steaks. I keep my tone even. Inside, my stomach is tight again. The night brings a visitor I did not invite. At midnight, my tent feels too close. I sit with a tablet and scratch notes for orders. The lamp smokes. The canvas creaks. The guard outside coughs. I look up because I feel watched. A shape stands by the table, not a shadow from the lamp. A man, pale. The folds of the cloak hang without weight. The face is known. The eyes are not warm. The air smells of cold iron. I say, "Who are you?" The voice answers low, without breath fastening to it. "I am your evil spirit," it says. The words are clean. "You will see me at Philippi." The shape holds my eyes. It fades. The tent is empty again. The lamp sputters and steadies. I do not scream. I sit very still. My hand shakes once and stops. I step outside. The sky holds a thin drift of stars. The guards look at my face and look away. I walk the line. I listen to the snore of a veteran and the small cough of a boy. I feel awake in a way that burnishes each sound. Was it a dream? I do not care. I act as if it was real. Back to the command tent. I call for the map. I mark where their camp sits behind the marsh. I mark our ridge. I write 2 orders and seal them before dawn. We will force Antony to attack our left with a show near the marsh. We will hold with deep ranks. Cassius will not break to chase loot if they run. He promises me with a straight face. I do not entirely believe him. I tell him that openly. He laughs dryly and swears again. Morning carries dust and noise. At dawn the next day, horns sound from their lines. Drums beat. Our men fall in. Shields thump against fists. The sun lifts slow and red through a thin haze. Horseflies bother the animals. Sweat starts under armor before the first charge. I draw my sword. I run a whetstone once along the edge and slide it back. I say nothing grand. I say hold, then move. Exactly a year earlier, Caesar asked me to be the bridge between his will and the Senate. He said speed was life. I stand now with a ridge behind me and a plain ahead. Speed will kill us if we let it. I choose the slower plan. I pray our line believes me more than the ghost. Back to the ridge. Cassius rides to his post on the right. He raises his helmet and grins to show his teeth. He is brave in a way that ignores cost. I raise my hand to him. He turns his horse and goes. The battle starts where we do not expect. None but one, what did the visitor mean by at Philippi? That one stays open. It will close when the ground shakes and the dust hides the sun. Horns answer horns across the plain. Dust lifts. Sweat stings eyes. Leather grips skin. I hold the center on our ridge and watch the lines close. The first push is not ours. Antony hurls weight at Cassius on our left. His cohorts run hard. Shields lock. Our men bend and hold. Spears catch bodies and snap. I send a runner to Cassius with one line, "Do not chase." He tips his helmet to show he heard. I start the move on our right. I order the right wing forward against Octavian's line. Drums pound. The marsh to our flank glistens. The causeway we cut takes our weight. Messala rides at my knee. Steady, I say. Then fast. We close. Our pila fly. Their front staggers. I see standards tilt and right again. Exactly a moment later, the gap opens. I throw in reserves. The right surges. We press them off the trench. We break their gate. We pour into Octavian's camp. Tents collapse under boots. Cooking pots spill. A couch stands under a canopy with a purple cloak across it. No prince lies there. The camp is a shell. The men cheer once and start to scatter for plunder. I pull them back by the throat of my voice. "No bags," I shout. "Back to the line." I ride through the aisles and strike tent ropes with my sword to break the urge to linger. Messala takes a standard from a man and shoves him toward the gate. I leave a small guard and will the rest toward the center. The field ahead looks clear through the haze. Back to our left. A rider brings news. Antony broke through Cassius's flank. The wind drives dust across the ridge. Signals blur. I push the men faster. My horse heaves. My teeth grind. We left the hill for a prize and risk a grave. I send 2 cohorts to close the gap near the marsh. I press the center forward to keep Antony's men off our rear. The ground here is churned and slick. A body underfoot shifts and lets my horse stumble. I keep the seat. I do not look down. Titinius rides past with a nod of cavalry. He is a senior officer under Cassius and his friend from years back. He matters now because he will carry the last message my partner needs. "Find Cassius," I say. "Tell him we hold Octavian's side. Tell him I come." He nods and goes. One hill hides the only news that matters. The ridge near our left is bare rock with scrub at the base. Cassius pulled back there to see the field. The dust hides flags and faces. He cannot see my right inside Octavian's camp. He hears shouts. He guesses wrong. Pindarus stands near him. Pindarus is his freedman and I is in chaos. He matters now because a mistake on a hill is a blade in the gut elsewhere. Exactly that moment, Antony's men flood our empty tents on the left. They set fires. Smoke lines the sky. Cassius sees fire and hears shouting. He thinks the whole field is gone. He sends Pindarus up the ridge to watch Titinius ride. Pindarus squints into dust and gives back the worst story. He says enemy horse surround Titinius. He says capture. He says loss. The cost of one report is a life. I reach the low ground below the ridge. Messala's horse lathers. We could just squad of Antony's men looting and drive them off. I look up. I see Cassius on the high ground with only a few around him. He does not wave. He does not move. He speaks to Pindarus. Pindarus looks at the ground and at the knife at Cassius's belt. Back to the slope. Titinius has reached our men on the right and received a wreath for breaking through. The men cheer around him. The dust hides that cheer from the hill. Titinius wheels back with a handful to tell Cassius the good part. He turns into a silence. I am 100 heartbeats away. Cassius sits. He bares his neck. He tells Pindarus to hold the sword and turn his face away. Pindarus obeys. The blade goes in. Cassius falls. Blood darkens the stones. The sound is small in the wind. Pindarus drops the sword and runs. He knows the law. He cannot face us with that act. I clear the ridge with Messala and 2 files. We find him. He lies on a cloak. His eyes are open. The mouth sets in a line I know well. He looks tired and calm. I kneel. My hands press cold skin. There is no breath. I sit back on my heels. The prophecy closes without a voice. I hear the faint sound of cheers from the right where we broke Octavian's line. I hear crackle from our burning tents on the left. I hear nothing from him. The visitor in my tent said I would see him at Philippi. I do. Not a figure with a cloak. Not a whisper. I see the price in front of me. That same afternoon, Titinius arrives on the hill with the wreath still in his fist. He sees the body. He beats his head with his hands. He says he has failed. He takes the sword and falls on it. The men around step back. No one speaks for a long time. The flies come. We wave them off with branches. I have to choose between grief and command. I stand. I fix my voice in my throat and make it work. Carry him to the tent, I say. Cover him with his cloak. Keep his rings. Messala takes my elbow. He says, we still hold most of the field. We can pull our left back to the ridge and camp behind our trenches. Night will give us a wall. I nod. I give orders with flat words and no ornaments. We move. Back to the line. Our men on the right return from Octavian's camp with eyes hot and hands full. I take the plunder and stack it by the inner ditch. I tell the officers to count and lock it. I promise the men their share tomorrow if we stand another day. They grumble and obey. Antony eyes the dusk with quick math. He pushes once more and tests our center. We hold and give ground slow to pull him long. A horn on our left calls the withdraw. The line flexes back into our trenches. Pioneers shovel at the outer lip to make the ditch wider. The sun sinks into smoke. The flies thicken. Thirst scratches throats. No chant rises. No victory cry fits. At dusk that same day, I enter the command tent. The air inside is warm and smells of sweat and oil. Cassius lies on a table with a cloth over him. His boots sit at the foot. I put my hand on the cloth over his chest. I do not lift it. I speak so only the table hears. I needed you to the end, I say. You were hard. You were fast. You were mine to argue with. I have to tell the army he is gone. I step outside. Messala waits with the senior centurions. I say the words. They nod and look at the ground. Some cross themselves. Some spit and swear softly. I tell them we fight again soon. I tell them pay waits if we live. I tell them I will lead the right again and hold the line he held. Exactly a year earlier, we thought the knife would be the end of the hard work. We thought the first blow would make the rest easy. We were wrong. The knife only opened the road. The miles after it are long and steep. I feel each one in my legs. Back to camp. Portia's last letter lies in my chest with my spare ring and a lock of hair from my mother. I do not open it tonight. I do not ask for comfort. I sit with the map and the roster and a cup of water. I mark gaps. I mark units that confuse. I send for engineers to build a new inner wall by moonlight. Octavian wakes from his shock by morning. The night holds small sounds. Men shift in sleep. A mule brays once and stops. Someone sings under breath an old hymn to Mars and cuts it off when an officer walks by. I write a short note and seal it. It orders a pyre at first light for the bodies on the left and names Cassius for honors. It says no wailing in ranks. It says keep your blade clean. Will we break them on the second day, or will they break us? And what waits in Portia's sealed words? 2 questions only. One will close with steel, the other with fire. At first light we burn the dead. Smoke creeps along the trench. Helmets sit in rows for men who will not wear them again. I order rations and water. I sign paychecks for the living hands that carried the day and lost it in the same hour. The second blow will not wait long. That same morning I open Portia's letter. The wax cracks under my thumb. Her hand is spare and strong. She writes that courage without judgment ruins cities. She writes that judgment without courage leaves them empty. She tells me to hold the cause, not my pride. She asks me to remember that mercy builds faster than fear. And at the end, if law fails, keep honor. If you fall, fall clean. Did she ask me to live? Short delay. She asked me to live right, not long. Back to Philippi. We bury Cassius with honors before noon. I stand by the fire until the cloth sinks. Messala speaks for the officers. He calls Cassius brave and necessary. The men listen and keep their faces tight. We seal the camp gates at dusk and rest what we can. The hills hold us for a while. Exactly 3 weeks later, the grain runs low. Our allies send lukewarm letters and short wagons. Their ranks grow heavier and more sure. Octavian comes back from his shock with a face like carved wood and a staff that never stops moving. Antony rides the lines and jokes with soldiers by name. He has a gift for that. Their skirmishers test our ditches every day. Our men answer. Their arrows find gaps. So do ours. That same evening, I called a council. I choose battle. Delay will drain us dry. Speed will cost us blood. We count cohorts and horses. We plan for the marsh and the causeway again. We assign reserves to the center. I keep the right. I send orders to double stakes at the weak gate. I pick one man for one job. Strato of Epirus stands at the edge of the tent light. He is an officer and my friend from the old campaigns. He matters now because he is steady and he will not say what I want to hear. I tell him to keep to my side in the fight and to take my last order if it comes. He nods once. He does not ask what it is. At dawn the next day, dew wets the grass below the ridge. The air tastes of iron and damp straw. Flags lift at both camps. Trumpets sound across the plain. Our men eat hard bread and chew without complaint. I ride the front. I say, hold the ditch. Let the first push break. Then move. Faces lift. Spears rise. Hands find straps and settle. Their left comes first, then everywhere. Antony drives hard at our center. Octavian leans on our right with less weight at first to keep us honest. The marsh steams. The causeway groans under boots. We throw pila and feel the line shiver and set. I keep my horse behind the front rank so men see me and so I do not block their view. Messala rides with orders on a leather thong pinned to his coat. Exactly a moment later, a cohort on our left breaks. The gap opens. I send in reserves from the center and cut my right by 2 ranks to feed them. We hold. We push back to the ditch. We take a standard and lose one of our own. I see a young soldier look at the cloth on the ground and then at me. I point forward. He goes. I refuse to smell fear. By noon the sun is high and flat behind a thin veil. Armor scorches skin. Water skins run light. Both sides pull back and breathe for a handful of minutes. Both sides shout to sound larger than they feel. I pass down the line on foot to steady men with a hand on a shoulder and a short word. Strato walks with me. He says nothing. He watches the center. Back to the ridge. Antony shifts weight and throws fresh troops at our right. Octavian follows with a push at the same point. The ditch there is narrower. Stakes are fewer. The ground dips and steals balance. Our men hold one charge and then another. The third creeps over the lip. Shields grind against shields. The sound is deep and close. One shout breaks the knot. Their standard bearer leaps the ditch and lands inside our line. He plants his pole. The men behind him spill into the gap. Our front their buckles and does not spring back. I run toward it with Strato and the reserve files. I reach the gate as it turns. I pull men into a half circle to bind the tear. We lock it for a breath and then lose it again. Can we still win this day? Not with what stands in front of me. I call Messala. Carry the order, I say. Pull back to the hill. Fold the wings to the center. Keep the path to the sea clear. He goes. The noise grows. I see Antony's cloak near the front once, then lose it in dust. I do not look for it again. I do not have time. The field decides without speeches. Exactly an hour later, I stand on a low rise with a handful of officers and 2 standards. The plain below crawls with bodies and movement. Our line shrinks toward the ridge in knots and bands and sudden gaps. A runner clutches his side and says the left is gone. Another says the center is dust and smoke. A third falls on his knees and asks for a cup of water. I give him mine. Back to the rise. I send the last reserves to cover the retreat. They're enough to slow a rout and not enough to reverse it. I look at Strato. He looks at me. We both know the count. I do not have a miracle in my belt or a fresh legion behind a hill. The last order is ready. I step back behind a screen of scrub. I unbuckle the cuirass. I feel her on skin that has been cased since dawn. I take my sword. I hold it upright and look at the edge for nicks. There are many. I clean none. I call Clitus. He refuses. I call Dardanus. He refuses. I call Volumnius. He puts his hand on my arm and shakes his head. It is no friend's work, he says. He is right. I turn to Strato. You have stood with me when standing cost, I say. Hold the hilt. Turn your face away. He swallows. He nods. He grips the metal. He looks at the ground. I set my feet. I look once at the line of the ridge and the plain below. I think of Portia's last line. I run onto the sword. The steel finds me. Warmth leaves fast. The sound of the field fades. The sky is simple. The noise keeps going without me. Afterward, back to what follows without me, Antony finds the body. He covers it with a cloak. He sends word that I will have a proper right. Messala carries the news to friends who need to know. Some weep. Some breathe easier. The men who live divide plunder and blame. The men who die leave no opinions behind. Exactly a season later, Rome bows to the 3 and then to 1. Laws bend. Offices turn quiet. You will call that last one Augustus. You will see peace and power in the same hand. You will judge us by what that hand makes and what it breaks. I end where I began. Hey, I'm Marcus Junius Brutus. I killed Caesar. I did it because I believed the state should not live inside one man. I did it knowing mercy given to me at Pharsalus made my duty sharper, not softer. I did it after he asked me to be the bridge for a plan that would have buried law under speed. I chose the slower road and died on it. One question remains for you, not for me. When fear rises and the crowd cheers gifts and quick answers, who holds the line so law does not thin to nothing a person or a people? Remember me for this, if anything. I would not call a master by any name. If this spoke to you, keep walking with me through other lives and choices.